Hey guys, I wanted to do a follow-up video to the last video I did where I was sharing our experience on the carnivore diet, feeding a family of 10 this way. I also mentioned that a few things might change because on my channel I like to share the meals that we're making on the carnivore diet because we're feeding kids as well, and so we try to be creative and have a variety of make it feel like we have a little bit more variety for our kids. So we've been experimenting with different sauces. We add in berries from the greenhouse. I'm actually in our greenhouse today. That's where I'm filming this. Or like seasonal fruits. We just experiment too with a lot of carnivore ingredients to make kind of like bread type things, or just pancakes. I have a recipe on that, for example, just to make it not just be constantly like just a big bowl of ground meat all the time, because that's mostly what we can afford on the carnivore diet. If you're new here though, my name is Ashley and I have 8 kids. We live on a homestead in northern Alberta, and we have been eating the carnivore diet for about 7 months now. So in the last video, I was also just saying that one of our biggest struggles on this way of eating is the fact that we're struggling to afford it. We live in northern Alberta. Grocery prices on everything have always been more expensive, but lately meat has become really outlandishly expensive. And so for us, what we are buying is basically pork belly because it's super high in fat, ground beef because that's just one of the we can't afford the steaks and roast, but even ground beef is really getting up there. So for example, the ground beef log that we started buying 5 years ago, it was $15 and now it's $40. So that just gives you an idea of like the kind of inflation that we are seeing in the area that we live. And then we also buy burgers. We eat dairy on the carnivore diet, cheeses, yogurt, like plain Greek yogurt, butter, and milk. So all of these things are really expensive, but what the beauty of it is that we can produce these things on our homestead. We just aren't there yet. So in my last video, I was sort of sharing that kind of how we're getting creative so that we can continue to afford to eat this way, and what some of the changes you might see on our channel. Like I might add like some rice or potatoes or starchy type foods to fill bellies. And since I filmed that, we have done that and we don't feel very well. We have noticed that the cleaner we eat, when we do splurge, we really feel it the next day. So cognitive, kind of like brain fog, fatigue. Jeff struggles with a lot of inflammation in his body from past injuries, which is what has been his catalyst for trying the carnivore diet. He wanted to see if he could manage those injuries. And then for me, in my last video, I mentioned that I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer 10 years ago, and I have tried vegan, vegetarian, whole food, elimination diets, and then I finally started going more animal-based, and it wasn't until I started going more animal-based and then finally to carnivore that I started getting some amazing results in the fact that my thyroid is no longer bulky, my labs are normal, and then my malignant tumor is even shrinking. And then one of the other issues that we have in our family would be depression and anxiety. I really struggle with that, and one of my daughters does too. So when we added in some baked potatoes, and it was actually my son's birthday, so we made a gluten-free cake, which was a rice flour base. So that's in the form of the rice that we ate. She and I did not feel well the next day. Any progress we had made eating carnivore and doing the different protocols that we've been doing, which I can share those in another video, it was completely dismantled. We just didn't feel well. It was really hard to think positively throughout the days following eating that way. So since filming that last video and saying that I might be adding like starches and filler foods and things like that, I don't actually think we can. However, some things that people suggested, like farming animals and hunting, those were all fantastic suggestions, and I had just not gotten into those things yet. But we do live on a homestead, and we do plan to raise animals for the carnivore diet. Right now we're eating a lot of eggs, and we actually are producing our eggs. In fact, we are pretty much 100% producing our eggs, and it is cheaper the way that we're feeding our birds compared to purchasing eggs. So that's a huge win for us. That's like the first part of producing our own food on the carnivore diet. Another thing that was suggested was hunting, and we do hunt. We're actually in hunting season right now. We're hunting bull elk, birds, and white-tailed deer. And if I can, I will try to film some of that, because we live in gorgeous country and I would love to actually get out and hunt. I have hunted very minimally myself. It's mostly my husband and his dad and my 2 older kids who hunt, but I would like to try to get out and do that. And as a side note to that, I wanted to share something super cool about being on the carnivore diet. And that is the fact that I have learned so much about how it is so good for healthy gut bacteria. And I think that since fixing my gut, eating the carnivore diet, it has really helped me with a lot of these anxieties and fears. And like I mentioned, I had anxiety and depression. Something I've been pairing with the carnivore diet is cold plunging, and I can leave some links in this video for anyone who might be interested. I originally learned about cold plunging through Wim Hof, and I have been trying to do it off and on for the past 3 years or so with very little success. I haven't been able to get myself fully into the water, and the water I'm in is about 38 degrees or so. So it's pretty cold, maybe even just like slightly colder than that. And it hasn't been until being on the carnivore diet that I have been able to submerge myself completely into the cold water, and even putting ice in the water. And doing that has made a huge difference in my thinking, helping me deal with a lot of anxieties and fears. And I have really struggled about getting into the woods out here. But something I've been wanting to do for probably 15 years now is to actually get out into the woods and hunt. And this year I've been conquering a lot of those fears and getting myself out there more. We're in firewood season right now, so we're having to work a lot more in the woods. And eating carnivore and then doing these cold plunges, it's just making it so I can actually live the life I've always wanted to live. I think when I was eating vegetables and carbohydrates and a lot of sugar and things like that, it's really interesting how that fed into so many of my fears, and it made me feel anxious and paranoid, and I just don't want to go back to that. So that is why I am really motivated to do what we can do to develop our homestead so that we can produce the carnivore diet. Now, the suggestions regarding raising animals, yes, that is our plan. The reason that we aren't there yet is because 11 years ago, we bought raw land because that was all we could afford. And we did a self-build. That, again, was the only thing that we could afford. And doing a self-build, it's just, you have to save a lot more money up front. You're your own contractor, your own sub-trades. We hired out, I think, 20% of the sub-trades just because that's what the bank required to approve us of our self-build mortgage. But then once we were approved, it was us doing the groundwork, doing everything, the electrical, like everything from like the big stuff to the small stuff. And just like I said, those, I think it was 2 or 3 trades that we hired out for to just follow the guidelines of the bank. But also those trades, it was like plumbing, and then the furnace work, and then the well, getting the well dug, and the septic, as well as the digging the foundation for the house. But like other than that, everything here, like I'm sitting in our greenhouse. We have a shop that the greenhouse comes off of, and then the house and everything Jeff and his dad built. They were their own sub-trades, contractors, all of it. And because of that, we didn't move on to an already developed homestead. So everything is still treed. We don't have any land cleared other than what we have cleared for where we could build our house and shop and greenhouse. And we still need to fence the areas that we need to fence for the animals that we want and then build the buildings that we need for those animals. So all of that, it just is something that we can only do each summer because we live, like I have mentioned, in northern Alberta, and we can't really do that kind of work when we're in like -30 winters or when we have a lot of snow on the ground or something like that. So the work in developing and moving our homestead forward so that we can raise a meat cow, a milk cow for dairy, and I don't know, maybe we'll try pigs or something like that. I'm not really sure. It's just it has to fall in line with our financial reality and our physical reality, because anything we do, we're doing as much of it as we can, or renting machinery when we need to and things like that. So those are our plans. We do eventually plan to move our homestead toward a place where we are producing the carnivore diet on our homestead. That's our intention. It's been something that we've wanted to do for years, but as I mentioned, I just wanted to briefly explain like why we aren't there yet, even though we've technically been out here for like 11 years, but we've lived out here for 8 years because we've had to build everything ourselves. But those are the things that we're planning to do: raising the animals, hunting, things like that. Those are the things that's the kind of lifestyle that we've always wanted to live, and we are getting there. It's just a little step by step, and the carnivore diet is definitely helping us to achieve that. Just better energy, thinking more clearly, feeling better, and myself, feeling more brave about being out in the woods to actually hunt and things like that. So I briefly just wanted to explain that, and if you're interested, this week is we have another birthday this week. My little girl Evelyn, she's turning 8, and we have a lot of birthdays in the fall, basically from August until about mid-October. We've got a birthday almost every weekend. We're all kind of scrunched in the fall time there. So what we do for our children is we let them choose what they want for their birthday breakfast, their birthday meal, and then something for a dessert. And we try to stay gluten-free, if not grain-free. However, with my son's birthday last time, we really did not feel well. He wanted coleslaw and sloppy joes, and we still made everything from scratch. I did buy buns for him, and normally I would make buns like homemade from scratch, but we've been so busy lately that I just didn't have time. So it was a treat, so we bought those for him. I didn't eat them, but my son and some of my kids did, and Jeff ate them as well. And even just eating gluten-free and the coleslaw and stuff, I really didn't feel well, and neither did my daughter. So we decided that, okay, even when we have birthdays, we have got to try to stay as carnivore, grain-free, animal-based as possible. So in my next video, I'm going to try to share a birthday carnivore finger food meal. My daughter and I are going to put it together. It's her birthday. She's our last birthday in October until December and January, when I have my other 2 daughters' birthdays. So Evie and I are going to share with you guys a little birthday carnivore, like finger food birthday meal, and we're gonna make like some mini pavlovas as her cake, and it's gonna be all grain-free, low carb. So if that's something you're interested, if you're feeding kids on this diet and you want to see how we do like kind of like special meals on the carnivore diet, trying to stay as healthy as possible, I'm going to share that next time. And then if you're interested, I've been working on a little ebook talking about all of the diets that I've tried and comparing them to the carnivore diet, and why the carnivore diet is so healing, and what are some of the protocols along with the carnivore diet that I have done to manage my thyroid cancer, as well as just a ton of links and resources. So if that's something that you're interested, stay tuned for that, and I'll share that soon. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I basically just wanted to share those few things in this video, and I hope that my next video is sharing a carnivore birthday meal. So until then, thanks for watching. Bye.